Today we will be talking about adapting to the new normal. Adapting to the new normal. Repositioning theological education curriculum in Baptist theological colleges. Let me mention that I don't know much about theology. All right, so I won't be delving into what I don't know. The essence of what we want to do is just to drop some ideas into the air, trusting that the Holy Spirit will grant inspiration and entrance for many of us, so that we can experience something we can use to improve the great thing we've been doing here. We know that there is nothing anybody can make boast of. There is nothing we receive or we have except that we are giving. So there is no basis to make a boast. We just want to share some of the things too that God has helped us to go into. That God has helped us to go into in Bowen in the past 2 years. By the end of July, will be 3 years by the grace of God. So be very free to ask your questions and put it down. I may not be able to respond to all, but I'm sure that together we will be able to address the ache of people's hearts after this. You will permit me to shoot a small presentation. It will take about 6 minutes, sir. This is the latest DYK in 2021, and we felt it's talking about technology, and we felt we need to share it here. It will take about 6 minutes. Please, can we go on? just showing us the world we are living in, the world we are going to find ourselves, the world we are going to walk in, the world we are going to minister to, the world we are going to point Christ to, and what have you. It's a world of the new normal. It's a world of technology. And nobody can pretend that we don't want this, because it will naturally catch up with us. Let me say that just before COVID, we were thinking in Bowen about having online classes. And we shared it with my colleagues, and only few bought in on it. Others stood strongly against it. It will not work. That was the reply. It will not work. And we kept convincing ourselves that this would work. And we kept buying equipment even when we don't know that something was going to happen. And lo and behold, COVID-19 came. We closed the university. Immediately, we heard that the first index case for Ekiti was said to have spent 10 days at Ibadan before coming to Ekiti. We knew that we may be in trouble. If you are Ibadan, is like a suburb of Iwo. Iwo is like a suburb of Ibadan. And most of our lecturers come from Ibadan every day. So if the Ekiti index case has spent 10 days at Ibadan, then there's fire on the mountain. So quickly, we closed the school before the Osun State government made an announcement for school closure. So while we closed the school, students were very angry, sending series of text messages and saying, if you are a good father, is it not inside the campus that will be safe? How can you send us out? And so on. And immediately after, Osun State government gave a week or so to shut down schools. And we used that 1 week to let people know that you don't do online teaching, you don't hand salaries. And that's the truth. There is no free lunch anywhere. Someone is paying. And that COVID brought us to begin to embrace technology faster. Most times, it is fear that makes people not to embrace technology. It is fear. We don't want to change from what we know. Also, there are certain ages. When you get to those ages, you want to face what you already know, rather than delving into the unknown world. But what we are saying is that our world is changing rapidly. It's the world of big data. You can see that it said that once you have a 4-year program and you start, by the time you are getting to the 3rd year or so, half of what you learn in the 1st year is outdated. Please, Dr. Aderipe, you make this available for everyone that will want it. Adapting to the new normal, we need to reposition our curriculum, even in the Baptist theological colleges, so that we can fulfill our calling for the master. You will agree with me that in the time of old, the kind of bells that we were using to wake us up in the morning, I'm sure the Baba president will remember very well, because it's for their own time. These were the bells they will use to ring. You wake up in the morning even when you're in school, and so on, and like that. But today, the world had moved away from this. And today you will find out that there are smart ways to wake up and to work. Smart ways. You can be woken by best vibrating alarm watches. You can have digital watches with alarm system. You can even have a watch with a voice attachment to wink at you that you wake up, or scream that wake up, it's time to get up, and what have you. I'm sure that our great grandmothers and fathers would not have used this no matter what if they were around. They are used to those other ones. There is nothing wrong in that. But when the world is moving and we need, in fact, many from Jesus, it is only vital that we need to catch them or meet where we can catch them. Ecclesiastes, we say, chapter 10, 7:10, say not, were the former days better than these? For it is not wisdom that you ask this. Isaiah also went further to say, remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. I'm doing a new thing. Now it spring forth, do you not see it? The Lord is doing a new thing. The world is changing. We're in a world of huge data. Those sources that made our fathers very popular, famous, and so, if any child dwell on earth today, he may remain in obscurity. So let me say that Bible also let us know that if anyone is in Christ, is a new creation. The old has passed, and behold, the new has come. So let me tell you that a new has come. There is a need for a paradigm shift. We cannot afford to use 19th century curriculum taught by 20th century pastors to engage 21st century students. The best we will get will be confusion. And I mean it. The best we get will be confusion. And so, the era where you have this kind of setups is fast giving way to multimedia and whatever you have or you think are the new things now. I usually say that what will drive an organization from good to great, be it religious or secular, is the mindset. The more our mindset is positioned for change, the faster it evolves itself to greater heights and brushes aside all forms of competitions. It's our mindset. There's nothing wrong in being a very old man, and because you have a ministry and a calling to young people, to begin to behave and look like them so that you can catch as many as you can. Sometimes my colleagues will see us on campus with our cap turned backward. All right, we turn it backward and put on the jeans and the canvas and so on. And people who don't understand look at us and say they are the ones spoiling the children. Can you see? And so on. You must first reach them to influence them. And so the mindset determines whether we will experience greatness or whether greatness will elude us. Today, the churches are attracting highly skilled people. And so, the usual setup of church is no longer attractive to in this dispensation. You will see, I see the picture of the church my grandfather was attending in one village in Ogbomoso here. And I was sure that if he had invited me to church, there was no way I would have followed him. Okay? But for them, that time was good, the time was cool, but time are changing. You young people don't want to stand here and have seats on here and here like we used to do in those days. In fact, today, they don't even want this. What we want is a pastor who is going to have a microphone and headset microphone like they do in TED and hold a pad and is talking. Now they will listen to that package easier because it agrees with their mind and their thinking than the usual pulpits and the setup here and what have you. And if you say it doesn't matter, we're preaching Christ, they must first hear you, all right, before anything can ever happen to them. So you may see your colleague whose mindset, who has allowed a changed mindset and is adapting to this, and you insist that as it was in the beginning, so will it be, and through time forevermore. Amen. You will find out that you are not making headway in ministry. We must keep the church going, even in an uncertain world. You see, COVID had made it now that even those who don't know or who don't want to use Zoom and Facebook during COVID period, for church to continue, our pastors across denomination became Zoom fanatics and Facebook activists. And I think it is good, but we don't need to wait to be forced. Events don't need to take place to force us to be able to move on. The next thing is to begin to teach our people how you can give offering without an offering plate. That in the service, that we will just beam the accounts and the treasurer is receiving alert and so on. It is possible. It is first having a mindset of how we could talk and convince our people and educate them and get there. The youth will keep leaving us if we don't act and act fast. I'm talking us as Baptists. And when you say, why are youth leaving the church? 3 out of 5 have disconnected from church life after 15 years of age. Top 5 reasons for church dropouts, or for those who stop attending church. They will tell you, since I moved to college. Many times when we move to high school, because high school gives us a kind of independence, all right, all along, our parents have been the one moving us, pushing us to go to church, and we kept going. But when we get to high school, there is a tendency that we may say goodbye to church or start skipping church because church look old-fashioned and not attractive. Sometimes in 2007, I was interested in Italy, and I found out that we went to a church. In the morning, I was just looking for a church to worship and then to experience the way they worship. And lo and behold, I got into the church. There were principally old people. Some of them came and carried their cats. Some have their dog with the whatever in church. It was really strange to me. And so when we started talking among those of us who are Nigerians who witness it, we're concluding that if God will not help them in Europe, then Christianity may become extinct. It's just a matter of time. And that means there's a responsibility on Africa, particularly Nigeria, to begin again to take back Christianity to them. But if we're already facing the same kind of challenge now, then we are going to find ourselves in trouble, except we can nip it in the bud before it gets too late. Some people will tell you that church members are judgmental, or they will tell you they are hypocritical. You hear that everywhere. People will say that they don't feel connected to people in church. I have had that where people will leave church because since I've been in that church for 3-4 months, nobody has visited me. Okay? And what have you? So people have series and various reasons for leaving church. But let me speak a little about the generation many of you will be ministering to. They are totally different from the generation these men minister to. Okay, and we need to know that when some of us were born, okay, we had the opportunity of living and spending holidays with our grandparents. And so as small children and so on, grandma or grandpa will always tell us moonlight tales, alo, ọjọ́ kan wà, ìjàpá wà. It will tell you about the tortoise and tell you, and even though that child has not seen a tortoise before in life, grandpa and grandma will describe the tortoise in such a way that whenever he or she sees the tortoise in picture or in real life, the natural thing you will hear is that, Grandpa, is this the tortoise? Now, we didn't know that the first teacher that were developing our imaginative capability at that time were our grandparents. They were the first teachers that were helping us to expand our ability to imagine, even as small kids. We took it for granted. And so, while that child was growing, and he or she started going to school, he was able now to read text. And because he was able to read text, he was able to quickly imagine, better than just hearing what they were teaching. And those were the generation that you had 2,500 volumes of books in the library for. Those were the generations of people like my daddies here, who could put their legs in buckets of water while they are reading. Because anything they read in text, they could quickly imagine. And then they are good to go. They don't have to see that thing at all in real life. But today we have another generation. I'm talking about a generation divide. We're having another generation that, because we thought that our parents or our parents-in-laws, they will spoil our children or they are witches, we did not release our children to them to spend any holiday. We actually create a distance between our own children and they, forgetting that we grew up in their hands. And so because of that, we have to take our children at a very early stage, less than 2 years, to the crèche. They miss the opportunity of allo. So they got to the crèche, and of course in the crèche there are many children like them. It is only when the manager of the crèche see you coming that he or she will quickly slap a feeding bottle in the mouth of your child. You may have been feeding your child with lactogen or SMA, but another person is feeding with something. Before you know it, in the crèche, the wrong one feeds your child and so on. And by the time that child escapes that, most times they need attention. And when they don't see attention, you begin to see series of idiosyncrasy in the crèche and so on. And those children grew up like that. They started getting used to the fact that I can't get the kind of attention and the affection that I need. I'm talking about a generation you will be ministering to, even as you step out. I'm talking about a generation that what you expect from them, you think is normal, and they need to reciprocate. You will be deceiving yourself to expect it from them. And you will be getting angry for nothing if you don't understand them and you don't understand the platform from where they are taken off from. Now, when those children graduate from crèche, they go to primary school or the nursery or whatever. Because daddy and mommy are civil servants, all right? Once these children are supposed to close at 12:31 and go home, we will organize, say, is there no extramural class here? Then we will organize an extramural class for a child that ought to be sleeping, resting, because it is part of child development. In fact, it is said that sleep helps brain development in a growing child. Now, we organize extramural classes, a lesson class, coaching class for those children, not because we love them, but because of our convenience, that at that time we will be closing from work, and then we will pick them and go home with them. So those children grow up all through their life. They never had lunch in a good plate. It's always in a lunch pack, because it's the lunch pack that you will pack and put in their box so that they will eat before they move to the extramural classroom. So even nutritionally, they were not well fed. Emotionally, they don't have it. Imaginative ability is almost none or zero. And so when again you pick them from school and you are going home, the only time you have anything to do with them is to say, John, so what did you do in school? How are you? Or you just tune in a music on the radio or whatever and take them home. And when you get home, you will always carry backlog of work from office. Particularly if you are like us, who are in the academics. Everywhere is office. So you will always carry backlog of work home. So that child again in the night after dinner wants to interact with daddy and mommy. Say, John, let me put your favorite television program. So you will go and put on Tom and Jerry. So he's sitting and watching Tom and Jerry while you are doing your work, and he sleeps off. And that is the typical life of that child. He grew like that. Now, it came to a point as you are aging. You now want the boy or the girl to show you affection. You now have time because retirement has come or is coming. And you are asking him to come over. And he's always pinging on his phone. And you get irritated because he's pinging on his phone. And you will even want to take some measures to discipline him. You will have been wrong. You will have been wrong because you are the one that introduced him to the tube in the first instance. You will have been wrong because all those times is Tom and Jerry is watching. Now, I want you to just think about this. If you ever have in the house a toddler and you want to open your popular channel on television, you are still struggling to check which channel is TVC or which channel is channels. When it is time for this toddler to watch his or her program, it is one touch or maximum two. Now, you will ask yourself, what is happening? Over time, the environment and genetic had worked in such a way that it has produced something I would want to refer to in quote as a monster. When a generation fails, it is only because the preceding generation did not do what they ought to do. Now, that is the generation we find ourselves. They are the generation that came in when Google came. They were the generation that came in, that were born when Facebook was on. They were those generations. They don't have any retentive and imaginative ability. So, if you would want to speak or to teach or to minister to them, you must use graphics. You must use video. You must use that thing they are very familiar with. And not just come and say, let us open our Bible to Ecclesiastes, somebody praise the Lord, and so on. They won't even pick a Bible because they don't have one. The Bible is right inside on his phone. And by the time you are saying Ecclesiastes is before, is after Proverb or whatever, they are touching, they are already there, and they are getting irritated that why is this man wasting our time? They are a generation that if anything happens today that people need help, maybe God forbid there is a motor accident, the first thing that happened to that generation is, let me snap it and send it to status or Facebook rather than first jumping to help or to assist. They are a generation that wants to show that I am the first person that put that thing on my status. Those are the generations you will be going out to minister to. Another thing that has compounded the matter for you is that a new normal again has come upon this. Meaning that today, many of them earn their money operating remotely. They are operating from home and earning money. My son is just waiting to go for NYC, but he's been earning money just sitting at home. Help them do back page, is it back page, front, whatever, computer, whatever. And even some of my friends as far as Zaria were engaging him and paying, and I had to start telling them that wait, be paying to my account so that I can monitor what is going on with this money. We are going to have many that will be operating remotely. Many that will not sit in the office. The employment market is changing. Many people now will operate remotely because of their skills. And many will expect that church must operate remotely. Yes. Why should the curriculum be repositioned? Number one, I say because we're in a global knowledge economy. In the knowledge economy, the skill of learning and unlearning becomes critical for the learner. A professor was sharing something and said, you must unlearn what you have learned in the physical library so that you can learn a lot of things through the internet of things. We saw what we are told, information, we're in a rapid information world. And so what you get today, just today, a fake news was making round that the NECO CEO, the registrar, was killed by gunmen and so on. And within 4 hours, The son came forth to say it's not true. That actually the father was sick and so on, and came home and so and slept and went over. So we're in a time that news move fast, and as news move fast, fake news also move fast. The news of the gospel ought to move fast. Why should the curriculum be repositioned? Because church members are evolving with the development of the world. And if pastors don't have required competence to engage them, members will be lost. We're talking about required competence. If I must come to meet my pastor, to tell my pastor that I lost my job because machines are taking over what human can do, and my pastor only say, okay, bow down, let's pray, I may not come back to that church again. Hello? I may not come back to that church again. Because even if my pastor will say, let's pray, my pastor would guide me to say some things. That, look, I know a place where you need to improve yourself. I know a place where AI, at a very little cost, you can develop yourself in AI, you can build up your skill, and so on. And after he had shared that with me, I say, well, I will check with them and let you know. Can we pray, brother, because God will help you. You see, I will want to kneel down for that pastor to pray for me than the one that just say, you are okay, pray, let's kneel down and pray. I know he doesn't understand what I'm talking about. Now, the church of the third pastor, the second pastor, that naturally you will see young people will load, is the one who does not wait for them to lose their job before he start telling them that you need to build up skills, you need to move from this level to this next level, invite resource person to come and help them to understand this, and move from being an analog people to a digital minded people, and so on. It's a matter of time. Is going to have many people wanting to listen to him speak, and so his assembly will be loaded. Let me make to go to say that by 2050, Africa will have the largest number of young people anywhere in the world. By 2050, and if Africa will be boasting about, we are talking about, by that time we will have about 1 billion people. And if Africa will be talking about 1 billion people, and where 80% of them also will be young people, you know that 20% of that number will be Nigerians. At least 1/5 of every African is a Nigerian. Between Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Tanzania, they will take the largest bulk of it. Now, how will we position ourselves in such a way that we can harvest these ones for the master also? There is a need for us to have a rethink. Members are evolving with developments of the world. There is a generation in church today who may still be in the children's church. Pastors should be prepared to handle them, or else they will leave the church. They are the generation we call the Sorosuke generation. You know Sorosuke? You don't know Sorosuke? Pastor, you don't know Sorosuke? You know, when Sorosuke started, and many Bowenians, our graduates are the people we refer to as Bowenians, who have inculcated the Bowen teaching. Our students are Bowenites. Many Bowenians joined, and one of them is this man seated there. He may graduate from theological seminary, he's a Bowenian, and he will always be a Bowenian. God bless you. The reason is because you don't have an ex-student, because you don't have an ex-son or an ex-daughter. So you don't have an ex-student. It will always be your children anywhere they are. So during that Sorosoke issue, most of our students, our Bowenians, were involved. Either they were doing their service here, or they were in the law school, and they were involved. And we got to know that 3 of them were arrested in Abeokuta because they Sorosoke. We immediately called our lawyer in Lagos, and we said our children must not suffer. Go to Abeokuta. Whatever is going to cost, we'll pay. If you know Barrister Bankole, ask him. That will pay. Get them out. They must not sleep in the police cell. And they went there. Before they got there, the NYC had released them. And so they called us that the police said the NYC had released them. And we said, no, don't believe police. Go to NYC and confirm. Now, while they weren't confirming, something also was trending. Okay, that there was a Bowenian at Ojuelegba police station that was being malhandled because she was taking pictures of what the police were doing. And when we saw it, we called our lawyers again. Proceed to Ojuelegba. Proceed to Ojuelegba. That is our child. If she's a Bowenian, she cannot be maltreated. So they proceeded to Ojuelegba. The police first denied it, but when they insisted, they met the mother there. And the police now said, yes, she's with us, but we are not releasing it. Go and do your worst. So they called us. We said, call a word press conference there. Call a word press conference. Let the whole world know that this is what is happening, and so on. And immediately they called a word press conference. Gbajabi Amila got to hear it and called the commissioner of police and said they should release her immediately. Now, that day alone, 24 hours, all right, we were liked on Twitter 250, right? Almost 250 times. Various people were just one day. Now, what does it mean? If a pastor would do something that will project the Lord and will attract these people, they will project him. Within 24 hours, many people had passed the story 250 times. You know what it means? Where you cannot get to, they will pick out your message and throw it up there, and you are going. And so, this is the reason why we need to embrace this generation in church, or else they will leave to go elsewhere. The next thing is the fact that I had mentioned about physical library. That the physical library is getting gradually replaced with the virtual one, where Internet of Things, where you use the Internet of Things to control access to and to use information. Now, let me say, our librarian is here. Many times, we have spent resources to develop our library, but we worked on the soft aspect of the library. We stopped on of the library. And so many times when our regulators come, NUC, they are still talking about how many books we have. These books are not current. All the books we saw, they are, when it is my father's age, they are bringing. What do you expect? And so on. And I know my people fret that, I say, leave them. Leave them. So when they come, they want to do wrap up. naturally they wrap up with the vice chancellor. So they wrap up and they will say, VC, you need to, we notice that your library is not well stocked, even though the media one and the soft is okay, but this one is not well stocked. So we want you to improve on it. And I will say that is all right. Then I will tell them, I said, if you just want me to improve on it so that you will be happy, we will do it. But the generation you want us to train, they don't read those books at all. What they read, even if you go, you will meet them at the media section of the library. Library today that doesn't have collection of videos, that doesn't have collections of, that doesn't support media development will not attract that generation. So it's one thing we really need to look at. Even as pastors that we minister to them, we must also key ourselves even to that so that we can reach them. I am looking forward to a day where it will become one of the criteria to be admitted into the Nigerian Baptist Theological Seminary of Ogbomoso is that you must have an iPad. So you will tell your church or who is your sponsor to get you an iPad or a tablet so that you can come in. We need to be proactive. There is a continued rise in artificial intelligence. And this will impact on the future. You can see what we showed initially, that machines were serving in the supermarket. Rather than, you will see it in Nigeria in the next 5 years maximum. You will see it. Many people will lose their jobs. Not because they have not prayed, not because they have not fasted, because they have not used all that God had given to them. We are in the world of artificial intelligence. Now, if we must change our curriculum as academic institutions, the first thing we must do is that we must begin to think about repositioning ourselves, repositioning our curriculum, and that means we must relook at our vision and mission statement and also our core values. That means there must be a strategic work to review our vision, our mission, and our core values. Let me tell you that one of the most top-selling airline in the US, Northwest Airline, if you will be recruited, in the recruitment interview, you must be able to successfully share 3 to 5 jokes. You must have a sense of humor. You will laugh. Assuming that as a cabin attendant, there is turbulence in the air, how will you keep the people calm? Just sometimes ago, less than a month or a month plus ago, I took a flight from Jos. I actually went for Reverend Guana's Sentford. He's a member of the Bowen University Government Council. So I went for his Sentford. And the next morning, I took a flight that was going to take me to Abuja and connect that flight, Max Air, from Abuja to Lagos. And my driver had been waiting for me in Lagos, believing that by 5 o'clock p.m. we would have been going back to Iwo. My driver did not see me until 3:30 a.m. Why? There was turbulence, there was a strong rain, and so the flight got to Abuja and could not land. And so he went back to Kano, landed in Kano, and asked those of us that the flight we will connect from Abuja had gone, so we will wait in Kano. He will go and drop Abuja people, then come back to pick us. By the time he came back to pick us, and we got to Lagos, it was raining heavily. And so he said he was going to circle around for a while and see if he can make He couldn't. And then he flew back to Abuja and landed in Abuja. And then waited for 2 hours. We were in the plane. You know they don't serve anything now except water. So when the plane like that, then he said he got signal that things are better in Lagos, and then took off again from Lagos. And when we were about to land in Lagos, the turbulence was so high that it was actually throwing the plane. Boom, boom. And I know that many of us were frightened. Now, if you are going on an international flight and you meet that, an organization, a proactive organization is already thinking, what role should the cabin attendant play in such an environment? That's how the things that makes them move ahead in business. They are not big things. They are very small things, but very good thinking. And so if we begin to address our vision, begin to review our mission statement, if our mission statement is not the one we have had since 120 years ago or plus, if we review them to address the current situation, because the challenge 20 years ago is not the challenge we are having now. If we can do all that, it becomes easy for us to reposition our curriculum. So our vision and mission statement with core values are pointers to future expectation from our institutions. I move forward to say that if we want to develop pastors for the 21st century, our pastors must know and understand money management, financial management. Many churches today are developing the economy of the church. And naturally, the pastors want to sit over it as CEO. They will not be different from Buhari, who never went to a secondary school and is directing a global and an African economy. Do you understand me? It becomes difficult, and that is why within a few years, the nation is back to where it used to be many years ago. You know, before he came in, I was telling a friend, and I make bold to say it. I said, this man is going to stagnate us. And my friend told me, he said, Uncle, if he stagnates us, thank God, this man will take us 10 years backward. And I realized now that my friend was correct. So there is no way you want to manage the economy of the church when you don't even understand basic economics, you don't have basic knowledge of financial management, you don't understand accounting and accountability. Now, there will naturally be crisis in the church. I remember there was a time in my church, Calvary Baptist Church in Samaru's area, that it was war over whether the pastor was going to sit over the EC and the CIC, just like some of the few things we're experiencing even now. It has been there long ago. And people were saying, look, even if he sits he cannot sit over the investment committee of the church. He cannot. Not because of anything. They see that pastors don't understand investment management. You don't mix business, okay, with sentiment. Sentiment will stay with you for as long. That's true. But business will collapse when you mix it with sentiment. So we need to really develop ourselves in money or financial management. There's a need for digital awareness and competence. There's a need for digital awareness and competence. Most of these young people you see in Bowen, I'm just using style, following them. Don't think that it's me who have the idea. It's not me. When they look at something, I will pretend and say, is that what you are saying? Okay, can you see me tomorrow? Let's discuss this. Then I will quickly go to Google I will Google it overnight and look at it. I don't go come first. And look at it, and I will study it well. Don't forget, we were the generation that have imaginations. So when we look at this, they say, now come the next, they say, hey, what was it you were saying? Say, no. Do you remember that this is how this thing needs to be? And they say, oh, coach, you are good. You are very good. Say, yes. So knowledge is not really what you have. Knowledge is how you know where you can get what you want at the time that you need it. So digital awareness is a skill that every theological college, a graduate of theological college should have. This is because you are going to be ministering to a digital generation. And because of that, you must be a digital enthusiast. Okay? You must be a digital enthusiast. Or else, you will not be sharing the same message. You will not be sharing the message that will minister to them. Like someone once asked in church, said, you people say when we get to heaven, we'll be singing. We'll be singing. From morning to night, we'll be singing. And everywhere is gold. And so on. He said, I see that heaven will be boring. I see it's going to be boring. You see, so we have to sit down in our Sunday school preparatory class and say, no. This our definition of heaven is not correct. It's not correct. So we came to say that, you see, heaven is a place where all your expectations that was not met on earth will receive fulfillment and satisfaction. So any expectation that you fail to meet when you get to heaven, it will be settled. Because that generation, for Baba, if you say he's singing and so on, he loves it. Those people don't love it. And so before you know it, it will tell you that I am not keen about going to heaven. So there is a need for us to redefine how heaven is so that he is going to love it. The next thing is that there is a need to actually develop our pastors to be able to manage their emotions. The matter of emotional intelligence. Manage their emotions. If they don't, the emotions, we manage them. I have been in a church where, because the pastor had an issue with a deacon in church, and then somebody asked a question, that I think that this story, this book of Hosea, is an analogy, allegory, and that I don't think God will say that will happen. Then the deacon say, I think I agree with you, because the way it is, it was a casual discussion, and the pastor stepped out and said, if you hearken to the word of the Lord, so shall the Lord hearken to your suffering. If you whatever. And the man told the pastor, he said, the deacon told the pastor, what have we said that is bringing curses? If you be man of God, are you not the one who should guide us? Why will you be raining curses on us? And it became a problem. I was there. Managing emotional intelligence becomes very important. Area of critical and analytical thinking. I have mentioned that before, that if I lose a job, I just lost my job, and I come to, because of AI, and my pastor is saying, let's pray, and nothing else. Then I will be looking for another pastor that can address my need. Don't forget that as a pastor, you are everything. You are everything. You are a medical doctor. You are a caregiver. You are anything that happens. Sometimes we forget that pastors are human beings. Even at 3 a.m., say, Pastor, my daughter is sick. My daughter is sick. And the pastor, we're expecting the pastor to arise and do something. If the pastor doesn't want to kill himself, he must develop some things digitally to be able to address some of these things. You cannot run to somebody's house 3 o'clock and you are coming at 3 a.m. Another person is calling. If you do that every time, the church will be looking for money to pay kidnappers. So you must think about something you need to do, all right, to make it easy for you to run the work of the church. Critical and analytical thinking becomes very important that we need to put. Another very important one is communication skills. Communication skills. The skill to read, speak, listen, and write. Sir, we are not saying that we will just read our Bible and read theological materials. Imagine asking a pastor, what is the capital of London? And he says it is England. Or someone asks a pastor that, because you are interacting with the pastor, and it's a community that these are people that are globally minded, and they were asking the pastor that do you know the Suez Canal and so on, and the pastor was very frank to say, no, I don't know Suez Canal. And they said Suez Canal is this canal by the Mediterranean. You want to get to Egypt and so on. Then they said, what about the Alimentary Canal? It's the Alimentary Canal, maybe somewhere towards Australia or whatever. You understand me? So reading, be current. Please be current. Read Times Magazine. Know what the world is talking about, global finance. Know what the world is talking about, employment. Today, you can get all those things digitally. You don't need to pay a dime. Okay? You can join group WhatsApps. I have group WhatsApp where they drop everything for me. Please. I will be proud if I see another person like Lucky telling me about Baptist pastors and saying they are the top, they are very knowledgeable, it makes me proud. I will say, actually, that is who we are. We are Baptists. I must not forget to add that aside from the above, we must not undermine the gift and the working of the Holy Spirit. For it is the bread of the Holy Spirit that gives life and impart whatever is passed down for effectiveness and transformation. So don't let's push the Holy Spirit aside at all. Finally, before I take my seat, let me share a few things that God is doing in Bowen University. And let me say that because we are just mere stewards, we are ready to assist any Baptist organization, institution to achieve even some of the things that the Lord had helped to expose us to. Sometimes in 2017, before I assumed office, they decide to review the vision, the mission statement of the university. And our vision is to be a foremost Christian institution of excellence, building God-fearing leaders, defining the future. You must see why we supported Sorosuke. Building God-fearing leaders who will define the future. We cannot continue, this generation will not continue to say God will judge, like our fathers have been saying, when our nation is failing. They won't. And you can see the scientific way with which they operated and they baffled the government with the entire instrument of government. Now, that is an indication to us that we don't address the need of that generation. We're going to be finding ourselves in deep soup. Now, I have mentioned also what we observe with that generation that we call the Generation Z, we are the generations that we are addressing. People born in 1997 through to 2012, people who were there when Google came, BlackBerry, they know Skype and so on. Some of us, if you say what is an iOS, we don't even know what is an iOS. These people know it. All right? And those are the audience that will form your congregation. And so, how do we teach them? How do we teach them? Even how do we teach them Sunday school? How do we teach them? The normal method we know in Nigeria well is a teacher-centered learning. It elevates the teacher. The teacher knows all. The student cannot disagree with the teacher. The teacher will find a way to punish that student. Whether he's a lecturer, he's a teacher, and so on. If your teacher in class have never said to you, I don't know it, then know that something is wrong with him. Before too, as a lecturer, I find it difficult to tell my students, I don't know it. How can you tell I don't know it? But I was in Italy where they brought a Nobel laureate on climate change in 2007. And he was speaking to us. We were 52 from across the nations of the world. And while he was doing that, I have a lot of interest in climate. So I had 5 questions written down. So when it was question time, I asked the first question. He told me, I don't know it. Then I looked at him. I asked the second question. He said, but you're a young man. You can do this. I really don't have an answer for you. And I started thinking maybe because I'm black. He feels that, why should you waste your time on the black? Then he said, okay, let me have the next question. I said, that's okay. I said, that's all right. So I just sat down. And there was an elderly American man, he's late now, Donald Nelson, who just sat quietly and was watching what was happening. And when we finished, we were about to go, he said, Josh, come over. And he said, why can't you get it into your goddamn head that this guy doesn't know it? So, and I turned and I said, but he's a Nobel laureate. He said, and so what? Does a Nobel laureate knows everything? I said, but he got a Nobel laureate award from, he said, no, Joshua, he doesn't know it. I really don't know how the man got to know what was happening in the inside of me. He said, he doesn't know it. Then he turned to me, have you ever told your student that I don't know it? I said, no, I can't do that. He said, you better start doing it. He said, you want to put yourself in the position of God? He said, no, you don't know it. Let them know you don't know it. They will respect you. They will not look down on you. They will go look for answers to it and bring it to you without you putting any effort. We must move away from teacher-centered learning. We must begin to focus on student-centered learning. And that means even the sitting position in the classroom must start changing. We are waiting for resource because we want to start doing that in Bowen. That students will not sit and focus on where the teacher stands. All right? That gives you the impression of a teacher-centered learning. Students will sit in circles like that, facing themselves, working together among themselves. The lecturer becomes a facilitator rather than a teacher. And that allows them to think on their own, to run on their own, to confer among themselves, and so on. So that later in life, when there are challenges, they have been groomed to think. Today, we have a generation of people that will always come back to their boss. I have done this, so what next? What can I do? They don't get satisfied with what they have done until somebody have noted to say this is good. And so because of that, confidence in what we are doing is not there. We must begin to encourage student-centered learning. And that's what we are trying to do in Bowen. One of the things we have done is to organized a one-day Vice Chancellor program for our students. So there are series of whatever, that student become the Vice Chancellor on that day. Every paraphernalia of office, it starts from having breakfast in the Vice Chancellor's lodge, and it moves around on a visitation to the lodge, and it takes the Vice Chancellor's car with all the security support, and the Vice Chancellor has one day holiday. And he goes to review a guard of honor, comes to sit in the Vice Chancellor's office, and all the staff in the Vice Chancellor's office will interact with him. That day, everything he approves is approved. Next slide. This is the secretary at the Vice Chancellor's office discussing with you. We are building student-centered learning. Go on. This is him on the spot feed. That day, he insisted that he has approved that we should not put off light at 10 p.m., but we should put it off at midnight. He is the Vice Chancellor on that day. Next. That is him at the radio station, and so on. Next. That is him when we want to start the Senate meeting. He is the chairman of Senate on that day. Okay, next. Now, at the end of the day, he will not sleep in the hostel. He will sleep in one of the guest houses. He is the Vice Chancellor. After that day, the next morning, he comes to share his experience with the Vice Chancellor, and then receive his check for one day Vice Chancellor. Now, it must be student-centered. Your church must be such that it must not be all about you. Everybody wants to shine. Are you getting me? Everybody wants to shine. And every day you are the only one coming up and so on. You are not helping people to discover their potential, to realize themselves, and so on. They won't like you. The Bowen University support for students. Yeah, in Bowen, we changed the Deanage of Student Affairs to the Directorate of Student Support Services. Why? Is because we felt that we need to dwell more on just not addressing the affairs of students only on campus with hostel and so on, but we must begin to give support. We gave some people sabbatical, not because they were very good lawyers in the law, but we saw that this person had enjoyed so many exposures and written so many fields, so many forms to get scholarship. And we said, let her be in the student support and train our students how to begin to pursue some of these things. The curriculum we are talking about, when you talk about the NUC approved curriculum, we don't work on that in Bowen. Our curriculum is market driven. So we look at the market, we talk to our Bowenians in the market, and find out what is it that they do in the challenges they face in the market, and quickly come again to review aspects of our curriculum to make sure that we accommodate that. And by doing that, all our NUC accreditation program, we have received full accreditation since we have come. So NUC is not the focus, it's the market that is the focus. One of the ways we have helped to develop the cognitive domain, and we've been able to revamp reading culture, is there was this time we are pushing entrepreneurship. One of the things the university is pushing is entrepreneurship, but not entrepreneurship in the area of any skill acquisition. It is soft skill acquisition, digital skill acquisition. We are leaving the hairdressing and the bricklayer for those who are in high school. But there is nothing fantastic about you being a university and you finish and you start a bricklayer business, even though it's fetching money. We have trained you so that you will be able to affect the globe. And that is what we are looking for. So anywhere we see materials that has to do with entrepreneurship, we quickly pick it up. Jim Ovia wrote this book, Africa Rise and Shine. And when we saw it, it was a story about Zenith. And so we wrote to Jim Ovia. We found out that it cost 9,000 naira each, and we ordered for 100 copy, and we put a check of 900,000 naira. Jim Ovia sent the 100 copies to us and returned our check, saying that we are the first university that wants to look at this, and it feels that this is actually the way to go. So we brought it because we're a university. We asked for volunteers when we want to start the reading program. And when we asked for volunteers, about 30-something students volunteered just about the time they were going to go home. And so we invited them to a meeting. We gave them the book, a copy, and we told them that, you see, can you appoint among yourself, can you appoint prompters, people who will prompt you to wake up? Can you appoint divers? If you are reading, it's like swimming. You must be able to test the water. You must be able to dive deeper than others. And then we appointed super divers. And we said, okay, can you read 2 chapters every day? Tell your parents when you get home that you are on a reading assignment and you are going to read 2 chapters every day. We formed them into a WhatsApp group, and they were going to come on the WhatsApp group when they read from around 5 to 1 or so. They come to the WhatsApp group to discuss. Now we are in the WhatsApp group, but we don't participate. We're just silent watchers. And what happened is that the prompter will prompt them at 3:45, all right, that on the WhatsApp to say, if you are awake, can you indicate by your popular emoji? And all of them begins to say, I'm awake. And so on, they assign somebody for a prayer meeting, and then they have a 15 minutes prayer meeting. Don't bother with that generation. They can ping like heaven. Don't let me say hell. They can ping like heaven. It is you that think it is difficult. Pinging, they ping even to take records in meetings. So they will do all that, and then they go back to read. And then they come back at specific time to discuss. And then when the work of the divers will be that you read beyond what they are reading. For instance, let's go back to the book. For instance, you look at the book, you find out that it is written by Jim Ovia. A diver will go to Google, who is Jim Ovia, so that it will dig deeper than the normal readers. Another person, a super diver, will not only look at who is Jim Ovia, say this book is published by Forbes. What is Forbes? Who are they? So that when we are discussing and the discussion becomes dry, it is the work of the divers and the super divers to bring issues to be discussed and to carry on. We were tremendously impressed with what we saw, particularly that we form opinion that generation does not read. So, if you will want them to read, you must work with their mobile technology and their telephoning. You must create a platform, and you must mediate a reading plan. And that is what we've been doing since then. Now, we don't buy books. We have been able to get e-copies of books. So those times that we send students home for one offense or the other, and we send them home for 2 or 3 weeks, we've known that it doesn't work. Where a student who goes home for 2 or 3 weeks, we ping his friends and say, me, I'm just eating sausage at home. You people be reading like that, and so on. And that one we say, come, what do you do, sir? We then send you home. Say, now this, say, make me, sir, I go do it next week. I go do it next week. So when we saw that there are many people that were committing this offense and we're just sending them home, we say, no, wait. this correction is not correct. And if it's not correcting, then there is no point to address this. We now say, okay, when you have done that, we will invite your parents and we will ask you to confess what you have done. Then we will ask your parents to sign to approve that we won't send you home. You will go and work in our bakery. Every 1 hour, we will look at your timetable. When you are free, to the bakery you go. And after working in the bakery for 1 month, then you will start the mediated reading plan. There are lecturers that have been assigned who will be ready to engage you in the reading. They must have read most of the books ahead. We now give you the book. You come to discuss with them on WhatsApp. And so when you now finish that, we will now send you to go and face guidance and counseling. So even if you don't fear God, you will fear those 3 processes. And you will run away from it. So we shared this on the 25th of July 2019 on the central page of the Punch newspaper. We paid over $1 million+, but we felt that the world need to know, the world need to learn, and this thing need to go around the world. People say, I have gone around to hear people say that Nigerians don't read. In fact, I was somewhere in the U.S. Embassy in Lagos in 2009. We were having a program for us to go on the Fulbright. And a young lady, white lady, spoke that you see Nigerians don't read. And those kind of things pains me to the marrow. And so I was looking for an opportunity to address this ill-educated girl on the issue. Unfortunately, there was no opportunity until we went for lunch. And when we were coming back, lo and behold, a professor like myself turned to me and said, hey, come, after this now, what next? And so I vented my anger. You are holding the program of the entire event. You know the American, everything is already packaged inside what you are holding. But instead of sitting to read it to know what next, you like to listen to another person. Nigerians like to carry information, rumor and carry rumor. And so if you are in an assembly as a pastor, teach your congregation to run away from fake news and rumor. We will get to a point where fake news will take people to court. And if you don't want to be going to be praying and fasting every time for what you ought not to pray and fast for, then you better teach your congregation right. Let me say that a church that will involve youths means that that pastor must be sport inclined. And that means that the curriculum here must address sports. Let's go to sports. The only way you can get the youth to key into whatever you want to do is to get them to be involved in what they are doing. We struggle to go around the field 400 meters. And I ought to be ahead. That day, it was the Holy Spirit that helped me. They were whispering to me that, Coach, you want us to slow down? I said, no, let's go. Let's go. But I was just looking at the line and so on. But you need to be agile, and you need to introduce sports in your congregation if you will meet those people, whether it be boys or girls. Let me say, when we were deploying technology for online teaching, the Federal Ministry of Education invited us to Abuja to share our experience. The Federal Minister of State was there, the Permanent Secretary, and so on. And we shared our experience, and God helped us that day. And lo and behold, they invited us also on a virtual thing to share experience. Professor Atobatele led that. And that day there was a comment from the Deputy Executive Secretary of NUC. He said, these universities that say they are doing examination online, is because they are doing multi-choice questions. They are doing MCQs. That when they finish, let them come and be telling us nonsense. They are not doing the normal writing and so on. Actually, I was there. I was just seated, and I turned to the DVC. I said, this man has challenged us. Let's show him that it is possible to do this. And so that took us to go to the drawing board. It was during COVID period. Go to the drawing board and plan that time we have not started exams. And plan that no, we must be able to do our exams in such a way that we will not compromise the examination process. So what you see here is while our students are doing the exam anywhere in the world, we're invigilating them. Anywhere they are doing the exam, the student thought we were joking until when the invigilators will call the student and say, look, you are not properly dressed. Your bra is showing. Some are in their bedroom, and so they believe that there is nothing. All you need to do is that you must have a computer with a webcam. And once you have a webcam, you must allow us to share your webcam. That's all. And with that, we can watch you while you are doing your examination. Anywhere you can be. And this, as we watch you, the system begins to archive your posture every 30 seconds. So that whether there is any issue in future, and we say, look, there was exam malpractices, and you say, no, you are taking us to court, we will just bring our evidence from the archive. Now, these are let's move on. Let's move on. The invigilators. No. Next. These are some of the gadgets we use in the teaching. Next. These are invigilators. All right? We assign 40 students anywhere to one invigilator. That invigilator can speak to all of them at once, or if he or she wants to speak to a specific candidate, he can do that without the others hearing that. So we have to train our invigilators so that this could be done. And the reason is because we want our regulators to know that there is nothing these young guys we have will not be able to do if you give them the opportunity. So pastors need to be careful what you think you are saying in the closet, because most of them who are technologically ahead, they will record you, get everything, and come to rubbish you in the open. If they get to church and council or so, and they say, see what pastor is saying, and so on. We need to be careful that today's word, there is nothing you say, all right, that cannot be recorded. Now, before I conclude, let me say that in the process of reviewing curriculum, planning and research is critical. Beyond these two, we must allow room for peer review. There was a time that we had to invite 5 professors of medicine from across the country to come and review our medical profession. Just come and do a review. We paid them 5 days. Come and do a review and give us a report. And that is when we moved to BSc MBBS program. So we are not only running MBBS, we're running BSc MBBS program now. So peer review becomes very important. It's your colleagues reviewing you. The reason is this: you look at a mirror, you can see yourself and say, I look good. You will forget that there is a stain of pepper here. But when your peer look at you, it will tell you if you can just clean up this, and makes you better than you used to be. I know that this theological institution here had been doing things to do with peer review, because I know that our librarian, even before this, had been engaged in such kind of things. Let me say that the theological seminary must evolve a theological education curriculum across board that will be flexible enough to guarantee self-learning, to meet the needs of the 21st century student pastor and the yearning of all stakeholders not to go down this path is actually to be left behind. I make bold to say that even though we are not theologians, but in terms of technology, God has helped Bowen University. And we are ready to lay it bare before all our sister institutions, because our mantra is together we are stronger. And so if there's anything we can be invited to do, we readily come to give support. Recently, just about 3 weeks ago, we were invited by the Director General of IITA, all right, and he was asking us, where can we collaborate? And it's strange to see the DG himself coming to ask. The DGs don't come out in IITA. And so he invited us, and we went to IITA. I led a delegation to IITA, and when we got to IITA, the deputy was saying most of the universities we have been going into partnership with, that it's lopsided, it's one-sided, and that he hoped that Bowen will not be one-sided. The DG who had come to Bowen and had moved around Bowen quickly said, no. There is something IITA needs to learn from Bowen University. He said that is technology. This morning, we had an early morning meeting on Zoom with IITA. We're already telling them that we're going to develop a games app for them on cassava value chain. There is nothing that anybody is doing out there, irrespective of the color of his skin, that you cannot do. The only thing is to have a right mindset, and the sky will be our stepping stone. Mr. President, I really thank you for this opportunity. I thank you. God bless you.
Wow! Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you so much, Prof. We really appreciate you. He spoke for about 1 hour, 35 minutes. And it's just like, just spoken for 5 minutes. Let him continue. Thank you so much. We appreciate your coming. He spoke on adapting to the new normal, repositioning theological education curriculum in Baptist theological colleges. Such a timely reminder. That is the trend, and we should not be left behind. I think that's the summary of the message. And I stand here to confirm that the Nigerian Baptist Theological Seminary of Ogbomoso is on the right track. Some of these things that have been shared with us, we are also doing our best to go in that trend. There are so many things we need to improve upon. And we are sure that with collaborations here and there, just as he ended his presentation, one day we'll get there. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate your coming. It's time for us to take some questions. So let me see your hand if you have questions you want to ask our guest lecturer. Just stand and come here, come forward here. We'll take all the questions, then he will give the response. But I hope that the questions you will ask will not be questions that will call for a response of, I don't know. So please, ask your questions, no greeting, nothing, just go straight to your question. Then you take all the questions and respond to them.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, these are the only 4, no more. Because you are not here, these are the 4 recognized. After these 4, he will respond.
Thank you very much. During the presentation, the guest speaker was very humble enough to share some of the secrets of his achievement as far as the administration of Bowen University is concerned. And one of the secrets he shared with us was, making use of the human resources around him, tapping from them, and of course, translating to achievements in his administration. He said he was not the only one doing everything.
Can
Now,
you please
in
go
church
straight,
administration,
go straight to the
in
question.
church administration, if a pastor will use people around him, like you are doing in the university system, to tap from them in order to boost his administrative skill, will that not, translate into making those people to puff up and to ridicule the integrity of the church pastor? Thank you.
I have 2 questions, sir. Paraphrasing your words, Bowen has reached the height in technology. And my question is there a future plan to partner with pastors in the future with this technology who are ready or desirous of implementing what you have given us today in the future? Number 2, with all this that you have given us, sir, today, there's no way we not depart or say bye-bye to some of our conservative tradition as Baptists. My question is, to what extent will that affect us as Baptists negatively?
Yes, my question is, having taken all this, are there no side effect, as a negative effect to this generation we are talking about and generation yet unborn?
Thank you, sir. The use of technology, as explained to us, is what many of our pastors were exposed to. And we teach it in the church, we expose the member to it. Not many churches have the ability or the financial ability to acquire all these gadgets. But in a situation where you have churches that you are explaining this to, or you are bringing them up to have the understanding of this, and they are of the opinion of going for the less, probably if they want to, not want to ignore what the pastor is saying, and they just want to, okay, pastor, we agree with what you are saying, but we will go for the less. Don't let us go for the new one. Let's go for the Tokumbo, of which at the end of the day, it may be penny wise, pound foolish for the church to be spending more. What do you think the pastor can do to be able to curtail the more spending on this gadget? And also, I want to ask, sir, having good partnership with the seminary, and we know that some of our members, our pastors are doing their BA and MA at the Bowen University. Has there been any other courses that has been included in the curriculum of Bowen that pastor can subscribe to come, or that we can hear from the horse mouth? And also to the seminary as well, just as you mentioned, the iPad of a thing, if the seminary can help the student to order for it at cheap price, and at the same time give it to the upcoming student at cheap price, it will be better for us, sir.
Thank you for all the questions. I will now invite Prof to please come. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yes, let me say that I make bold to repeat that this seminary had produced great minds. even what you call conservative has produced very great minds that have influenced the landscape, not only in Nigeria, but even outside the world. I don't want us to lose sight of that. We're just talking about now that we are giving birth to children of 1992, 1993, and so on. How do we need to reposition all these things that we have taught over the years so that it can be delivered at the heart of these young people? That's what I want us to take home from this. There is no way you work as a team that reduces your integrity or your personality. It's only because you feel that everything must be centered around you. That's why you feel that your personality and your integrity is reducing. Actually, in the eyes of all those people, they will respect you. It will be wrong for you to use them to do many things and come to the open, and you will not appreciate them in the open. All right? So the truth of the matter is a team. Jesus himself worked with a team. So it's a teamwork and nothing less. No one man is a champion. All right? God's work is done as a team. Please, are you ready to partner with people who need help? Well, let me answer this way. On the 7th of this month, we are going to be bringing 50 pastors in the Bata conference to visit Bowen, and for a one whole day visit. And we are going to be sharing and talking and so on, trusting and hoping that they will be able to convey such kind of things also to their congregation. For us, we are already partnering. Are there not negative aspects of the creative innovation to the members? If yes, how do we deal with this? Why do you always think about negative when it has not come? When you get to the bridge, you will cross it. Don't forget that we said that in spite of everything, don't forget the role of the gift and the working of the Holy Spirit. All right? Because it's the one that actually gives entrance and illumination to the word. Even while those negative is happening, the Lord will drop to your mind what you need to. Don't be afraid. Please, don't be afraid. A man who is afraid cannot take a first step. In fact, everything within you just freezes if you're afraid. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You will just learn one way not to do it again. That's all. What can the pastor do to maximize spending, financial management? The first thing is that the pastor must acquire knowledge in financial management. Okay? Today, people do accounting and so on. But we're already talking in Bowen that our accounting must be BSc, computer and accounting. Our people is in NUC as we are talking now. Discussing with NUC about that. The world is talking about digital financing. I don't know when last I've ever entered a banking hall. Okay? So the people we need to train now must be people who will be able to work in the area, acquire skill in digital financing and be able to work. We have a student that graduated 2007 in communication, mass comm. Okay? This girl has acquired series of skills over the years. She's less than, she should be about 30 now. Okay, when we had the first riot in Bowen, the riot in Bowen in 2018, I don't know how she did. I talked to her on phone. Anytime she comes, I'm never around. So I asked her and I said, I need a Bowenian who can help us with digital things and so on. That because he or she will feel that he has a stake. And she came. And a 2.4 million naira job, she did it for us for 1.7. Because we remove our own profit from it when she broke it down. Today, she's the graphic manager for West Africa, for Cadbury. She told me that her basic salary is 15 million per annum. And they gave her a chassis SUV. And I said, Bolu, even your VC, this is the first time I'm using a new vehicle. He said, that is your time. Now is our own time, coach. All right? This girl is less than 30. Now, if you have those kind of people in your congregation, how do you reach them? That is what we are talking about. Considering the ongoing partnership, there have always been partnership with MBTSO. Even before I ever came to Bowen. There have been a strong, most of our theological studies and religious studies and so on, the backbone from where we plug it out from was from here. Okay? And some of the lecturers here also teach in our school. Baba Lateju, I thought I saw somebody like him now. And so on. They teach in our school. Baba Ayeboyin. All right? Most of them pass through here. So there have always been partnership. In fact, recently there was something to do with College of Theology in Lagos. It was Baba Ayeboyin that led a delegation to go and resolve it. The point is that I wouldn't know how to resolve it. But it takes a pastor to be able to resolve matters that have to do with pastors. That's why we brought Baba and we begged Baba to stay. So that most places we have itches with our various theological schools, all right, he can help smoothing it before he leaves. So there have always been partnership. Let me plead with Baptist pastors. Baptist pastors, you always first think about cost. Change that mindset. Change that mindset. There is any good soup costs money. Be ready to invest. Don't always be looking for something cheap. So we're talking about tablet. Someone is saying that let the seminary go and provide and let them distribute at cheap price. You can't get any tablet cheap. Go and buy a tablet. If you need to invest on yourself if you will get there. So please, let's change the mindset of every time it's cost we are looking at. Let's first build the idea. While we are building the idea of where to get the money will come. God will help us.